So the fact that the 4th of July is on a Sunday, we couldn't possibly have a celebration service today without talking about freedom, without talking about the liberation of the spirit. So we can't actually talk about the garden of our lives, ourselves as God's garden, or our lives as our garden, or the garden of our spiritual community, without talking about liberation, because until we are liberated, we will continue to plant, we will continue to sow and reap and sow whatever we've been reaping and sowing our entire lives. So we have to really, it's a perfect time to talk about the freedom of the self with a capital S, and not the small s, right? The freedom of the spirit of you, the freedom of the truth of you. In 1419, Rumi wrote about freedom, about the path to liberation. He said, liberation means to decondition, de-identify from all that we think we know. He says it takes a while until the body and the mind have adapted to a life suspended upside down. There is doubt, fear, and agony until one day there is this knowing. I am free. And then I look up at my toes and smile. So when, I love the word liberation. It means the act of setting someone free from imprisonment, slavery, or oppression. How many of you in your lifetime have experienced the tyranny of the ego and experienced being in slavery to your small self, oppressed by your small self, limited or imprisoned by the lower vibration of yourself? All of us have. How many of you know people who are, even today, kind of trapped in this mind? Eckhart Tolle is one of my favorites, and I'll share with you why in a moment. Truly, I think maybe he was a big source of my awakening switch being flipped. See, I think you have a switch. And I think we keep coming here and we practice, we pray, we meditate, we read, we pray some more, we meditate some more. We go, why can't I get it? Why can't I get it? And then one day, a switch. So, but until we're liberated from the confines of our mind, our judgments, our opinions, firmly held beliefs on what's right, what's wrong, we're not liberated. And we can only grow what we can grow within the confines of being in that state of consciousness. Liberation gives you the power to choose. It gives you choice in life. Liberation gives you the power to rather be at the effect of circumstances, a victim of circumstances. It gives us the ability to master our circumstances. In 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, the time in our history when the slaves were declared to be free. It's a process of being set free from restrictions. Today, we're going to issue another Emancipation Proclamation, which is to declare our own freedom from the conditioned self, our own freedom from the ego self, our own freedom from our own form of bondage. Do you all know what I'm talking about? Yes, because if we were free, if you experience this freedom, the state of your life would be almost unbreakable joy. Meister Eckhart was a Christian mystic who said, joy is the evidence of God's presence. If God is present in your experience, if you don't like that word, use a different word. If spirit is presence, if love is present in your experience, then if love is the evidence of God's presence, right? Joy is the evidence of this experience of life being in you. So, our reading today ended with truly one of my favorite quotes from all time. A belief may be comforting, but only through your own experience does it become liberating. This was Eckhart Tolle and the Power of Now, written in 1999. I would have been around 49. And he said something in that book which made sense to me. It was the first thing that had ever made sense to me, because in our faith traditions, certainly in New Thought churches as well, there's this idea, we have this saying that we say, oh, it's all good. Has everybody ever heard that? It's all good. Everything's fine. Eckhart Tolle said this. He said, by far the greater part of violence that humans inflict on each other is not the work of the criminals or mentally deranged people, but of normal, respectable citizens in service to the collective ego. He says one can go so far as to say that on this planet, normal equals insane. Now, that could sound a little negative, and I don't really mean for it to sound negative, but in my experience, when I read the newspaper or hear about some of the things that happen, it feels insane to me. Like, why would anybody behave that way? Why would anybody do that to other people? Why would anybody do that to animals? Why would anybody do that to the earth? So I think it behooves us really to look at how we, you and I, how do we separate ourselves from the mind that does that into the mind of God? You know, Marianne Williamson said we can either think with God or not think with God, but no matter who we think with, our thoughts are creative. Now, I want to make a distinction here between experience, because he says, belief may be comforting, but only through your own experience can it liberate you. So here's how simple it is. Somebody just came back. Somebody's in one of our community members, Erica Jones, is in Arizona this week. And she just came back from the Grand Canyon. If I were to go to the Grand Canyon, or if you were to read a book about the Grand Canyon, or I were to show you my pictures about the Grand Canyon, you would think that their pictures are beautiful. But thinking the pictures of the Grand Canyon are beautiful is a different order of experience than standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon. Can you see that? It's so close, not even the same thing. You know, I've been to Africa many times. I'm going again, and I'm going to bring back some gorgeous pictures, and I'm going to show you elephants I met, and lions that I met, and warthogs that I met, and you're going to love my pictures. But I am telling you, to be in front of a lion with your camera is a totally different experience than looking at the picture I took, because it lives in your body. It lives, you know, everyone believes the Eiffel Tower is there because everyone says it's there. You've seen pictures of it, it's been in the movies, you have friends who went there, but until you see it, it lives in you as an idea, not as an experience. We want God to live in us like that. You want to know your spiritual identity the same way you would know the Grand Canyon if you were looking into it. Like, it would be so real, so tangible, so personal. Do you understand what I'm saying? We want that, because when you have that, life becomes amazing grace. Life becomes the metaphysical interpretation of the word, the Lord. In metaphysics, the Lord means the law of cause and effect, the law of it is done unto you as you believe. So when your experience of yourself as holy transcends a belief in your holiness and becomes a knowing, then you forgive yourself. You forgive everyone. You understand that we live in an illusion of mind, and that in truth there's two realities. One is an idea and one's an experience. You know, you may ask, there's some place in the Bible where Jesus said, you see, but you do not see, you hear, but you do not hear. That spiritual things have to be discerned spiritually. It's the same thing as Einstein saying that the problem cannot be solved at the level of the problem. So you've met people who believe in God, who believe in life, who believe in love, that they could listen to Fox News all day long. They can listen to negativity and hopelessness all day long, and they will not be swayed. Do you know why? Because they've seen the Grand Canyon. So what can we do? What can we do to help ourselves? This is for you, Rich, by the way. 3 things. What can we do? Sorry, it's an inside joke. So what can we do to help us get to the place where we can flip the switch, right? Because we want to flip the switch, don't you? Do you want to flip the switch? Of course. And by the way, it takes time. I don't know, there are some people who God says, hey, you, wake up. Like Eckhart Tolle would say that was how that was for him, that he just one day had a spiritual awakening. It wasn't that way for me. It took years of trial and error, years of walking through, negating everything I've been taught and told, years of little faith builders, like, okay. So the most important thing you need to do is to understand and step into a fuller experience of who you are as a divine being, as a spiritual being, as a unique and individualized experience of source energy. It is so easy to think you're just a sausage, like sausage. Right? Like body organs encased by skin. It's so easy to think that you're puny and dispensable, because our physical bodies do have an expiration date. They do. Your physical body will expire. Some of our bodies expire at 110, some of them expire at 3 months, some of them, the body temple is temporary. So it's so easy to think that that's what we are. But that is not what you are. It's just a house on loan to you, right? It's the way you navigate this physical experience you've opted into. But the truth is that you are birthless, you are deathless, you are whole, you are perfect, you are divine, you are holy. Right where you are is holy ground. So it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter how many mistakes you've made. It doesn't matter what's been done to you. It doesn't matter what you've done to other people. In this moment, you can proclaim your independence from all of that story that keeps you small and suffering. So the most important thing, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Is that beautiful or what? Right? Beautiful imagery. This message is the message of all time. It's what Socrates said. It's what the Buddha said. It's what Rumi says. It's what Jesus said. It's what Eckhart Tolle said. It's what Myrtle and Charles Fillmore said. You are holy. And that we have at our disposal everything that we need to architect a life that we will love, that will be a good experience, that will allow you, if you're here, Emerson would say, if you're here, God had the need of an organ. So if you're here, you have something inside of you, a gift, a talent, a blessing that you came here to give. So you want to give it, right? We don't want to, ultimately it doesn't matter because your divinity isn't based on your giving your gift. So if you don't give it this time, you'll just come back in a different car, right? Maybe a Jaguar next time. So once you make this connection, and you need to foster it, if you can even catch for a moment that it's the truth about you, then just begin to, we're in a month of navigate, nourish, nurture. It's like once the seed's planted, then what do? Right? You have to make sure the environment is correct. We'll talk more about this as we move through the month. But part of your environment is to manage what you do around you. So a couple more things you can do. You can cultivate what we would call observer consciousness or watcher consciousness. So you are not what's thinking. Thinking happens independent of you. And you can do this, it takes practice, but you can actually watch what you are thinking. And then if you can do that for even a second, you will begin to say, well, that was a little freaky. Like, what was that? Who was that? You can even do it right now. You can say, okay, just pause for a minute and see what you think next. You can, it would be a good, you could actually start listening to the voice in your head as often as you can. Just listen to it. Listen to what it's saying. And you can say things, get thee Satan behind me means get the stinking thinking behind me. So when that voice in your head says something like, oh God, you're really stupid, why are you doing that? Just say, shut up, right? Shut up. Stop saying those things, right? Be quiet. It's called the watcher or the observer consciousness. It's a very powerful tool which you will ultimately cultivate in your spiritual journey. You could even sit down once a day and pick up a pencil and say, okay, mind, give it to me. What are you thinking right now? And just write down what your mind is thinking so that you can feel the distinction between you and your thinking mind. Are you feeling dizzy right now? So another technique I was taught, and I love this one, it's a little bit confronting, but it will help you. I worked for an organization called the Breakthrough Foundation for a long time, and they did third world development. They also did a workshop called the 10-day teen course, which was for gang members in San Francisco. They would take these gang members, teenagers, up into Nevada, up into the mountains. And I worked for them, and we were volunteering for one of the 10-day teen courses. And these were rough kids, right? So it was a very rough environment. The 10-day teen course itself was pretty in your face. These kids had to go through a lot, and it was very transformational for them. But in order to prepare the volunteers, we had to do what was called a be with. So we had to find someone, and every day, like if you wanted the privilege of volunteering with these kids, you had to do this. You had to, many weeks out, you had to find a partner, and you had to come together every day for 10 to 15 minutes and be with each other, which means you sit across from each other and look into each other's eyes without saying a word for 15 minutes a day. And now, I'm going to say what that was like, and you're going to hear it like a belief. Until you do it, you won't have the real experience. But what happened is you do that enough, and you see beyond the surface. You see beyond the personality. You see beyond this is who I am. You see beyond the nurse or the doctor or the mother or the person you like or don't like. So you could practice being with someone. You could do that because it will tell you something about yourself and about them that you can't get in everyday interactions. But you can also do this with yourself. Find yourself a mirror and be with yourself. And you're going to want to run out of the room, right? Because the first day here's what your mind's going to do. Oh my God, look at that nose. Oh my God. Oh, your eyes are so puffy. It's like, when did you get so old? Right? But you have to keep yourself in the room and stay there with yourself, because who's looking in the mirror? You have to discover who's looking at you in the mirror. Because who's ever looking at you in the mirror was looking at you in the mirror when you were 5. Your body changed, but the looker is the same. That looker, that observer, that watcher is God in you. It is the divine presence in you. Oh, and then this one's actually my favorite. So, you must be very conscientious about not allowing your space to be contaminated by the fear and the negativity of others. Yeah, do I hear an amen? So I'm going to read this poem to you in a moment. Your brain is much more like a radio receiver than anything else. We live in shared mental airspace. Do you get that? We live in, it's not like there's my mind and then there's your mind and your mind. We're not sausages, right? So your mind isn't contained inside your brain and it's all yours. There is something that we share in the ethers. That is why you can pray for somebody around the world and it actually has effect. It's why people can meditate on a plant and make it grow, because we live in shared airspace. Quantum physics has proven that you don't need to be touching to be connected. We're connected on the invisible side of life. So if you're not standing guard at the door of your own consciousness, if you're not standing guard there, all kinds of crap can get in. All kinds of stuff that makes you afraid, that makes you angry, that makes you feel righteous, that makes you feel wrong. So whatever exists in your mind in a repetitive kind of way cannot help but manifest. It's your garden. So you need to stand guard. Stand guard. I want to read this the whole of this Rumi poem to you. And by the way, he wrote this in 1400, so there's nothing new going on here. Truly, in fact, you guys will be so bored with all of us by the end of the year, because every week the same thing. You know, maybe we'll have chocolate spirituality this week, and we'll have strawberry next week, but the message is always the same. Wake up, wake up, wake up, right? Know who you are. So in 1400, Hafiz wrote, "We have not come here to take prisoners, but to surrender ever more deeply to freedom and joy. We have not come into this exquisite world to hold ourselves hostage from love. Run, my dear, from anything that may not strengthen your precious budding wings. Run like hell, my dear, from anyone likely to put a sharp knife into the sacred, tender vision of your beautiful heart." So this simply means that it is all right for you to take a break from all the negativity in your life. It's okay to turn off the news. It's okay to not see your mother. Sorry, moms. But you know what I'm talking about. It's okay to not hang out with the friends who upset you every time you see them. It's okay. And because he says, run, my dear, from anything that may not strengthen your precious budding wings. Rumi said, when you're turning yourself upside down, you are fragile, right? We're trying to strengthen our spiritual muscles. So today can be our Emancipation Proclamation. A proclamation is a public announcement dealing with a matter of great importance. And I would say that our freedom from bondage is about as important as it can get. Because if that happens, your garden will be planted with whatever you want your garden planted with. Beautiful flowers, good health, happiness, joy, peace, friendship, community, meaningful work. If you are free, and if you are identifying with your divine self. So any real change, any real difference making, any real anything in our universe always begins with a declaration on somebody's part. Somebody declares something. So right now, I want you to say after me, today I set myself free to be. Today, I set myself free to be. Right now where you stand with no evidence or proof, by the way, no evidence, it doesn't matter. Nelson Mandela created for himself the experience of freedom while he was imprisoned. So there are many people who are not imprisoned by their circumstances. So we're not wasting one more minute in our lives here. We're going to do our emancipation proclamation. Say that really fast. Today. One more time. Today, myself free to be. Consider this day and the service. I don't remember where I got this visual, but somebody once said to me, we're not trying to fix ourselves. You're not here to learn anything. You're not here to get smarter. You're not here to get spiritual. You're here to hose off the dirt and grit of the human journey. And so it is. Happy Independence Day. Oh, so take a breath with me. Allow your attention to travel all the way down to your heart space. I'm hoping that somewhere during this time you have felt your freedom like an experience, like a possibility, like the truth. And as you travel down inside of there, it's where love is. It's where God is. It's not out there, it's in here. So it's not far, closer than our breath, closer to us than our hands and our feet. There's nowhere to find it, nowhere to look. It's right here. And so as we find it, as we tap into it, as we believe it, as we embrace it, as we allow ourselves to be embraced by it, that we are freed, we are liberated.
Of it all, I am light. 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 Sing with us. I am light. I am light. Know that it's true. I am light. I am light.
Oh, and so we just simply celebrate this fact, this truth, this self-evident truth. I am light. You are light. Today, I set myself free to be. So we just simply allow ourselves to feel this, to know it, to embrace it. Let it settle in. And we leave here today filled with the Spirit, and we watch that garden grow. And so it is. Thank you.